We're going to call a meeting to order, 7:05. And the first thing we got going on is the agenda is considerations reserved for changes to the agenda. Items in order, we're not changing anything. Comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda. All right, so now we're going to have a discussion on our review of the 2019 town plan and discuss the timeline for the 2027 town plan. Will Rebecca take us? Oh, Rebecca. Sorry. Kathy Ann. I'm looking at Rebecca today.
What?
Yeah, what?
What am I doing?
No. Kathy Ann.
All right. Well, we've been saying it for a while. It's coming. It's here. Current plan, 2019. It's good for 8 years. If we do the math, that means 2027 is when we are due next. March is the magic month on that. It's going to come fast. Most municipalities give themselves somewhere between 12 to 24 months to do that. We are currently at about 18 months out, so we are right there. It's good timing because we just wrapped up that set of amendments. I'll mention later in an update that those are going for public hearing with the select board at their meeting next week, a week from today, September the 9th. And so once those are wrapped up, I do have a few others that we'll be sort of intermittently bringing to you, which maybe you'll welcome because it'll be a break from from some of this town plan work, but probably a much shorter list than last time. But those will probably be the two big things that we'll be looking at, aside from your usual requests that'll come from the public, October and April. That means that next month, I think I've tentatively heard of one request that may be in the queue. I'll have to follow up on. You may have one request for a zoning amendment change from a member of the public at your October meeting. Other than that, that just sets the big picture stage for us as to where we're gonna go next. Rich and I did talk about this. So tonight's meeting is really high level, big picture, laying this out for anyone who hasn't done this before, reminding you guys of what it feels like for those who have. But it's also exciting, and really just setting the priorities, because there's so much work in this plan. You might look at it and you might say it looks big, it looks small. Some of it is you can spend weeks or months just wordsmithing very specific words in here. You can also spend weeks and months talking big picture things. So I'm trying to, I'd like to spend part of tonight really understanding or starting the conversation, not finishing it. Really what your priorities are for how to spend at least the next 6 to 8 months of your time and of the work. These plans aren't meant to be generally, unless you haven't done one in a while, full reimaginations and full rewrites. But they can be, and that's part of why I want to talk to you about that. If you do see things or areas of town that are zoned in ways that you think are inappropriate. Having worked with you for the last 3 years, 11 months, and some odd days, a theme that has come up frequently that I hear does, include general land use across the town, and discussions that start but don't finish, validly so, about, is this the appropriate land use? Are we either protecting it well enough, or have we not considered the appropriate zoning or future for that? And the answer time and time again is, this isn't the time to talk about a little niche. That is when we talk about the town plan. And so things have been kicked to this point now. And so that is, really what I've heard through the past 4 years. There are, of course, some components of the plan that are new, that are requirements. So just as a reminder, there are a series of requirements. Every town plan in Vermont has to include a certain number of things. We'll go over what those are. Since you've adopted this plan in 2019, a few new things have been added to that list. Things rarely get removed from it, but a few new things just barely missed with the adoption of this plan was a requirement to address forest blocks and forest fragmentation planning. So that is not in Colchester's plan, that we have to do a considerable amount of research, discussion, and planning for. The good thing is, we've been aware of that. We've been sort of working on at least mapping some of that. We've had some interns who have been working with us for the last few summers. So we'll have data that we can bring to you readily enough. It's the policy piece that interns can't do. And so we'll bring it to you, we'll bring it to, and then you, with our help, will bring it out to the residents and stakeholders of Colchester. Another piece is what is referred to as environmental justice. That is a very recent requirement under one of the acts adopted within the last session or two, where you plans are required to address both within the plan and through the planning process, account for historically marginalized populations. And so that is something that's new. Again, something to consider both within the plan and as outreach is conducted for the plan. Those are the two big ones. Am I missing one?
The other one is the housing item.
Oh, housing, yeah. What was it called? That was sort of midway between those two. It has a name. It wasn't just housing.
Well, there was an update to the housing plan. Previously, it was more of a housing assessment, and now there's more of an action plan that's required of how the town will actually meet the housing goals that have been, established by the Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah. So you already have a housing chapter. What's been changed is to sort of give that a little bit more teeth, to really, as Zach has said, to assign more action steps within that. It's really expected to be a hardier chapter or section of a chapter than it has been in the past for many plans. So to include not just lofty goals of add more housing, add more affordable housing, but to talk about your needs, talk about your current housing stock, and to lay out a practical plan of how you're going to connect the two sides of that bridge. So those are some of the big updates that we're going to have to work on. Big picture, obviously there's a lot more detail to all of those things than I'm saying here, but just to lay that big picture here. So why do we do a plan? Why do we care? What happens if we don't? Well, we wouldn't be the first town if we do miss that deadline. Towns are late. The reason that you need to have a plan and an adopted plan is that this gets cited for quite a few things. Having an adopted plan is necessary for a lot of grant funding. It's necessary for a lot of designations that the town may seek. It is necessary to collect impact fees. It's probably necessary for a lot of things that planning and zoning doesn't involve itself with, but that other departments may. So all of that, often prerequisites for things might say, have an adopted valid, regionally approved town plan. Complicating this is that we and several other towns will be going through this process at the same time that the Regional Planning Commission is seeking to approve its regional future land use map. I'm just foreshadowing that right now. I don't know what that's going to mean for us. There is a requirement that local towns or local municipalities should conform with a regional future land use map. That regional future land use map is going to look a whole lot different. You guys have seen a version of it. This version that you've seen endorsed has already changed since you, don't get me started. It's a soapbox you don't want to hear, trust me. It's already changed. It's probably going to change again and again and again. Rich has heard my soapbox. So conforming with a plan is going to be challenging. I think the approach I'm going to recommend is that Colchester's plan looks the way Colchester really, truly plans to look, in the way that its people speak and intends to be. And then we'll do our best to make that conform or convince the regional map that it needs to conform back. Because a well thought out 2-year mapping process is worth a lot more than a couple people who don't live in Colchester setting together a map.
I don't understand how it changed without us being involved in that process.
And now you're going to get it started.
Well, I mean, then
There-
they can change it. and-
I'll put it very quickly. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and it's been made clear that the future land use map does not belong to the towns who are part of it. The future land use map is set by the Regional Planning Commission. The Regional Planning Commission has an executive board. It also has subcommittees. One of those subcommittees is a long-range planning committee. The long-range planning committee is made up of a series of people, including other municipal planners, some representatives of other regional organizations. They have made suggestions and changes to the map, not just for Colchester, for a few other towns, but also for Colchester, that I personally don't agree with, but have been made. That map still has to go through a formal public hearing process, much like the work that you do has to go through a formal public hearing. It could change as the result of that formal public hearing process as well. And then yet another opportunity for change yet to come is that that map has to go to the Land Use Review Board, or LURB, if you've heard of it. That Land Use Review Board is that new board that the governor appointed that is the ultimate authority in approving the map or making changes to the map. I can't say with any certainty if they will accept the map, make changes to the map. I can't even guess. And that is at least a year off, probably, or maybe 9 months, I think. Last I knew, before they will take a review of that. I don't believe that they've seen the map yet, so they at least haven't foreshadowed whether or not they're supportive of the map. Complicating that even more is that I've heard that there will be a request to the next legislature to add more categories and make some changes to how the map is done. So there's just a lot in process. So we're,
I guess the concern is we took input from our community on what they wanted. I mean, I know everybody didn't agree, but we advertised it, people came and talked about it. So I feel like the process is flawed, and it's concerning to me because why involve the community if you're not going to respect their viewpoint? I mean, this is their town.
I have shared that exact sentiment plus the sentiment that the select board was asked to endorse the map. So that plus the endorsement. I shared that thought with those at the Regional Planning Commission who are in charge of the process. They disagree with me. They're obviously supportive of their own process. I'm as frustrated or more than you are.
Can you let us know what it is that they've changed that doesn't seem to fit with what
Yeah,
we-
so far, what's changed, the Sunderland Woods neighborhood, which was like a village area, like similar to a resident, of the other residential areas in most of town, was changed to, sorry, a little outside of this orange transition infill area. So here is the Sunderland Woods residential area, I'll get a pink. So pink is most of the residential, sort of suburban residential that we have. And Sunderland Woods functions much like all of the rest of them. They changed that to orange, which is the same as Water Tower Hill, Ratty's, all of the industrial complexes, Myers Trash Service. Myers Trash Service, Ratty's is the exact same future land use as Sunderland Woods. I am not happy about it.
No, that doesn't make sense.
The reason is that despite it being a future land use map, Sunderland Woods does not have a sidewalk to a village core. So, and lest it appear that I'm fully blaming anybody at the Regional Planning Commission, I don't intend to, other than the process piece. I think that part of this, part of this is a learning process. This is a brand-new thing that's come from a brand-new piece of legislation, and I think that all of the best intents were there to limit, and I've shared this with the select board, the best intents were there to reduce the number of categories that are in the future land use map. And I'll pull up ours in a little bit. Our future land use map has a lot of categories. Most municipalities do. You know, we've got like 45 different things that, you know, could be in the future. And I give a lot of credit to somebody thinking ahead and saying, hey, we don't need that many. Let's narrow that down a little bit. And let's make them the same from region to region, because they're not today. What happens in Chittenden County looks very different than the categories that are used in Windsor County or Bennington County. And so I think whoever came up with the idea of reducing them and, you know, having them be the same across the state is genius. The real problem is that they perhaps reduced them to too few, and the descriptions that were given to them were not well thought out. And it really left our neighborhoods behind. And they really just didn't know what to do with them. And they don't fit into the categories very well. And I think I explained that when we were working through the first time. So it's not really anything I don't want to sound negative. It's not a blame thing. I think it's like a lesson learned thing, where it wasn't thought out. And I think that the solution is to fix that rather than to put a very, very square star peg into a tiny round hole, which is what's happening.
Well, if they have a future land use map, and they take Sunderland Woods, which is definitely residential, and put it into the, yeah, I'm calling it commercial, they have a different name for it. I mean,
Transition area.
transition. I mean, that area, our zoning doesn't allow it to be commercial or industrial. So I don't understand what the future land use map does if it doesn't show reality.
I think it's an exercise, again, the problem is that it's an exercise in matching descriptions that were crafted by somebody who's not a planner. The description says you have to be walkable to a blah, 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 and because there's no sidewalk, it's been deemed that it's not walkable. And despite it being a future land use map, the fact that no sidewalk exists today is what's determining that. So, yeah, you can probably feel my blood pressure from over there, I'm sorry.
Well, all right.
So, maybe we solve it by having an official map or something that plans for better connections. I'm not sure.
I think Sunderland Woods likes their little isolation. Personally.
Yeah, and I think they would take exception to being told they're expected to transition in some way. I don't think they have any intention to transition.
That's still not going to really make any difference for us moving forward on the master plan.
Yeah.
We're just going through neighborhood by neighborhood, falls in whatever category.
I think that's my best advice to you, is as you work through this, forget about what the regional map is for now, because that's may change, could change. Maybe we advocate for it to change. Maybe it changes on its own. I think you have to represent Colchester. I do think there's some value, and maybe we look at it, we look at our own future land use map and say, hey, do we have too many categories? Can we simplify it a little bit? But short of that, your obligations are to the people and lands of Colchester. And, you know, much like last time, it's going to be a community engagement exercise, plus, you know, your own work to determine, you know. Here I am saying I don't think Sunderland Woods will transition, but if you all rise up and say, yeah, absolutely, let's tear down all the singles and make them into fourplexes, that's for you to say, not me. But this is sort of the time to do it.
We're definitely going to have public input that is positive in our area and gets a proper response. You know. Sure.
So I read through all the policies and all the action in this plan over the weekend.
Oh,
And I'm wondering, will we get an update? Like, because there was a lot of action, you know, between the last plan and now the future.
I
So
could've-
that either we're looking at what needs to still be done or what has been, we can cross off as having been accomplished.
I could have got you a cheat sheet, Sarita.
Look at that.
Oh, good.
So,
Okay,
this
great.
is.
Can't read that, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll make it bigger in a second. So, another thing that I identified some time ago while I had some student assistants, one of our interns put this together. Or did you do this one? No, this was a student.
Yes, I think it was, when I was an intern, I did do this.
Was this an updated version, though?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Somebody gets credit. I do not.
I say give it to Zach. since
We're just
he's
gonna give
not
him
here.
credit. Absolutely. We're all on board.
I'm the only like post intern in earshot, so thank you.
This was dated 2023, but they might have worked off of Zach starting. So,
This week I'll find my version. We'll compare.
all right. Maybe yours is more complete. So we do have, or maybe they duplicated the work. So these are all of the policies, actions within the current plan. So we're gonna have to slog our way through this. Fill in current status. We're gonna ask you, should it remain? And then any additional comments. And this will be one of the early things that we do, but at least this is a good place for you to see them all on their own. And they are sorted, and I'll get this document to you guys. And I'll put it up someplace public too. This is not a private document. People can,
Is, just one question.
Yeah, yep.
Can they go into the categories, so the actions on the house?
yeah, they are. That's what the, sorry, you probably can't see it. I haven't made it very big. So the lands of, they are on the bottom. See the
Okay.
tabs?
Perfect.
Again, you probably can't see with my size that I've chosen here.
Great.
Natural heritage,
Yeah.
our homes, powering is the energy chapter, who we are, serving Colchester, which is probably the, sort of the,
Thank you.
Government
That's-
chapter.
That would be really helpful, thank you.
yeah. And we're probably gonna start a whole dedicated page, we haven't done it yet, but we'll start a whole dedicated page so that you and the public and anyone who's following along has access to everything. This will be something we're intending to do, to have a whole series of resources available as we go along. This is not published anywhere yet, but I'll get it up somewhere. And we'll of course, probably at your next meeting, work through, just start with the basics, start with the outline. Do you like the chapters? Do you like how they are? I was telling Zach that I read something, it's, just to give you a quick little laugh here, I read something where some town had named all of their chapters after Beatles songs. So like, what did I say there was? So like Penny Lane was the one about affordable housing.
You know, if you don't want to change something, you let it be.
Yeah. There's a whole thing. I don't know if we're quite creative enough for that, but we can have fun with it. Okay, so that's just one spreadsheet for now. I'm gonna get back to my memo here. Somewhere in here. Okay. Overall timeline. So I did send you a timeline. It's, again, I think, gonna feel pretty aggressive. These are done in sort of month increments, but you'll see that each month has little dividers. Once upon a time, Planning Commission did have 2 meetings a month. This will be a ripe time to get back to that. What I can promise you, though, is that it'll be pretty homework light and discussion heavy. So not necessarily a lot to read up on because it is so policy heavy, but a lot to talk about. So I don't know that you necessarily need to commit to a very specific schedule yet, but, and I think, way back when anybody applied or interviewed, I think it was sort of known that there were, up to 2 meetings a month. But good time to have that conversation.
We did the last town plan, we were meeting twice.
Were you meeting more than that at all, or
Not really.
I don't think so.
were your community meetings in place of meetings, or were you doing them in addition to?
We didn't have, on the last one, as much for the community meetings, because it was a light over, right? We didn't go anywhere, but we put out there for people to come in, right?
Well,
Trying to think now.
it's more fuzzy for me because,
You're new.
well, no, it was 2018, and that's when I had family
Oh,
health
right.
issues.
Sure.
But I thought we had community meetings with the different neighborhoods. And I don't know if they came here or we went to them.
I think on that one, remember, sorry, they came here, right, our last one? Yeah. The one before, I was part of the one before, that one we did it all over town. We went to the schools, we went up to Clay Point, to their little community building, we bounced everywhere.
Where'd you
you
go
didn't
at
have the
Clay
space.
Point? I was wondering about it
There is
earlier.
a neighborhood up there, and they have their own little community building. We went in there.
Who does?
Oh, what's the name of the neighborhood? I've been up there to think about it.
Which neighborhood?
The one up in Clay Point,
Oh.
they have a
Oh,
little,
North Harbor?
yes,
Oh, they have a
they
community
have a
building?
community building, at least they did,
Okay.
yeah.
I was
We met
wondering,
there,
because I want to be able to,
which was pretty handy for those.
yeah, I'd like to recommend
Yeah,
getting out to some community
yeah.
neighborhood meetings, getting 2 people.
We did that.
But I couldn't think of a place up there.
Yeah, that's where it was happening last time.
Okay, good to know. I didn't know.
We did Union Memorial, Porter's Point,
Union for the village?
yeah.
Okay. Porter's Point for,
That side of town. All
okay,
Bay, down
everything
through
out there,
Yep,
airport neighborhoods.
yeah. Can't think where else at that time.
Yeah, let me pull up the neighborhood map, because I think it's a good discussion for us to have, because I want to,
Because 19, we went, had a lot to do with the energy plan. That's the really way to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
The state was all about the energy plan. We had multiple meetings with the state coming in and telling us that whole energy piece is built by them. And we had to install it. And then we slightly touched everywhere else and kind of tuned it up. But a lot of it's now, it's pretty outdated. So
We kind of revamped it, though. We did reformat it.
that's right. Yep.
I like the way we reformatted it. I'm not going to be here at the next meeting, so I'll just pass it on. I kind of like how we did it.
I like it too. I think it's one of the prettier ones I've
Yeah.
seen. I have some goals for it digitally, but interesting, because Severance Corners didn't really have many people back then, but it might be its own neighborhood meeting now. Yeah, so we have Severance Corners. So we got exit 16. I I assume you still had meetings, did you have meetings with like other stakeholders that weren't necessarily residents? No?
I mean, they're welcome to come, sure.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that.
So we got exit 16.
I'm sure if you
Yep.
had a building or business and you had interest, you're showing up, which you should,
Yeah.
you know. Should be welcome.
I mean, some of them are so corporate-owned that they're so far removed,
Yeah.
but we'll do our best.
Yeah, they don't. It is what it is.
So you got the fort.
We did have a meeting in the fort.
Did you go to the music center?
Yeah, I think we were,
Ellie Long?
yeah.
Yeah. Where was your highest turnout?
25, 30 in the original one would be average. Sometimes they're 10, but. So the
Where-
one
where-
down- I remember the one down at Porter's Point had a big group, because that's the bay.
Porter's Point, which
Yeah.
your,
Yep, and we didn't have this, so where did we meet? Balance Bay, I guess. Because at that time, we were meeting up at the White Church, or whatever they call
Oh.
it now. Yeah, this didn't exist.
oh, so Porter's Point was like all the bay,
Yep.
like Mouths, but like everything,
Yep.
even this part of town. Okay,
Could we use the rec center for the day?
yeah. Yeah, so you got the inner bay. So I would probably this time around maybe even consider separating them because I think they have different thoughts than the folks maybe in this part of town. What do you think?
Yeah, different world now.
Yeah. So you've got your inner bay, and then maybe the rest of this in a different.
That's the Outer Bay, and then we also had one for Marble Island.
Oh, you had a separate one just for Marble Island? Interesting.
right.
It's kind of its own little community.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because on your neighborhood map, it's sort of grouped in with the bay, right?
Yeah.
No, I guess it's not. Where is it? Did it get
It's
left?
its own thing.
Did it get left off?
No, it's its own thing.
Is it its own thing?
It's its own thing.
Okay, Zach says it's his own thing.
And-
I guess it is its own thing.
So, one question just for the commission. Previously, prior to 2019, I remember the neighborhood maps, the neighborhoods were a little bit more segmented, and they were merged a little bit in 2019. Did you have combined meetings, or did you go like neighborhood by neighborhood?
No, I don't think so. It
Did
was
some
a lighter
combinations.
It definitely was a lighter version. It
Mhm.
wasn't, we were not as detailed.
Okay.
So I remember leaving some things in there because we were like, has been long enough, we're just gonna leave it, jump over to the next one, right? And other things we were like, no, we should change that. Does that sound right?
Right. I mean,
We're gonna be more detailed on this
we'll
one.
be more detailed this one yet, but you're right. The emphasis on this was really tackling the energy issue. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. I mean, we're following, the old town plan, but we also had the Heritage Project. We're incorporating that at
That's
the
right.
same time.
Yes. That was just before? Heritage wrapped up just
I
before?
was
Yeah.
part of the Heritage Project.
Yeah, that was a big problem. That's why we that's right. That's why we
Yeah.
coded it, because the Heritage Project came through. You know how it is with volunteers, you only can take so many pieces out. So it's like, we can't do both. We either have to make a decision, we're all in with Mass, that's right, the Heritage Project. I forgot about that, so it came. 'Cause that was a big push. They had a group that wanted that, and they needed that, and so they got it. But on the other hand, the Heritage Project was hopes and dreams, and this is nuts and bolts, so it was a little bit different view.
But we have to remember, we had a select board that was heavily involved with that Heritage Project.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard that. I
Yeah.
was not there at the time, but
No.
I've heard it.
And that makes it, and that's a big, because we definitely want public input on this thing. That's,
Yeah.
as you know,
I think
that's,
there was, I mean, I keep going back to the heritage plan a lot, because it seemed like the community was very involved.
yeah, because that was the focus.
And so kind
Yeah.
of looking at some of the trends that they were saying that they wanted.
Yeah.
One of my questions is how will that inform, or will it inform this new plan?
Heritage Project? Two different, I think they're two different worlds.
And I think we did it in 2019. We did take the
We did
Heritage
inform-
Project.
Okay, so we'll
and
just build
pull
on
it
it,
in.
and
Yep.
that's the plan that we will be building.
Yeah. I mean, if we do it thoroughly, neighborhood by neighborhood, basically what the Heritage Project tried to do, you do it with master plan anyways. That was the problem, is that you can't rehash the same thing over and over again with two different groups, with the same idea. The Heritage Plan is just at the time was a big thing, not just here. The idea came from somewhere else, was brought in here, they loved it, so whoever's on the select board went forward with it, which is fine at the time, but there's no Heritage Plan, and there's nothing to stop people from coming in now to give their viewpoints on this, because this is going to be their opportunity to talk about their neighborhood. But then it was the Heritage Plan you were talking about, you know? 'Cause I mean, if you're gonna complain about something, you like something, this is the time. Hopefully we'll get the message out, neighborhood by neighborhood, especially when we tell people, we're talking about your neighborhood specifically, now's your time. I think people should have enough reaction.
Yeah, I think since you brought up the Heritage Plan, I do, having not been familiar, not been part of it back in 2018, but I do hear from a variety of folks about it from time to time, including, are you going to implement anything from it? Are you going to, so it does still come up. I guess,
The focus, though, for the
The-
Heritage Plan is part of the master plan. So, yeah, it will be part of that.
Yeah.
It's the same thoughts. It's the same, it really is all the same as the master plan. The Heritage Plan and the master plan are basically the same ideas, only we're more detailed because we go through neighborhood through neighborhood. Especially now, because now we have implemented some of the ideas from the Heritage Plan already. We've got the rec center, we've got other pieces of the pie moving. But we were going to have it anyways because we were working to that. We just had a group that wanted that on paper in a package. It's definitely going to be part of this game.
and it is on our website for anyone who's not familiar with it. But we haven't distilled it in any way as part of this, but I don't recall, I haven't looked at it recently. I don't recall if it had summarized objectives or goals or.
I got a copy.
You have a copy with you? Yeah, I don't remember if it distilled down specific objectives. I could pull it up, but it's a pretty plan.
Community strategic plan.
While we're on that topic, while Rebecca's looking at that.
Well, what is it you wanted to answer?
Oh, just if it had specific identified goals and strategies or similar.
It says goals and objectives summary.
Okay, okay.
I mean, it was.
What it lacks is zoning. It lacks zoning, R1, R2, the whole bit. Doesn't have any of that. Doesn't have any of the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
It tells you, I want a rec center here. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's not zoned for that. We don't have a sewer system for it. We can't do anything about it, but we want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it comes to us, and then we have to be like, all right, it's time for us to figure out how to change zoning in it, get the state to approve it, regional plan to approve it, and now hopefully the town will approve a sewer plan to get down there. That's the two differences, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind with the Heritage Plan, even though, it's amazing that a group of passionate volunteers could pull together something that sort of robust in a short amount of time, keep in mind that it doesn't have to follow the same sort of public hearing procedures that your town plan did and does. It doesn't have to follow the same sort of community outreach that you do and will. And so those are important things to keep in mind.
It had goals, and then it's divided up into all these different chapters.
Okay, I'll take a look at it again. It's been a while. But I'll take a look at it with the understanding that it wasn't necessarily endorsed by you guys as representative of the town or the select board as representatives of the town.
There also is a really good economic development plan that was done in 2018. So it's very outdated, and I have suggested, I think a couple of times, to the select board to do another economic development study.
Have you read that? Have you read that economic development plan? Have you read that?
The one, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That one we don't want to mimic.
We don't want to. Well, it looks like
It's
South Berwick
pretty-
and Williston.
Yeah.
You know, I think what was interesting to me, it was like talking about kind of how do you lower taxes? You know,
Yeah.
how do you keep services and lower taxes? And, you know, talked about, you know, economic development, commercial development. But it said for Chittenden County, it's not like Colchester or Essex or South Burlington. The same companies that are looking to come into Vermont
Yeah.
are just looking at Chittenden County, that Colchester has to find a niche that brings, you know, that gets companies, you know, businesses to move here.
That
in
one-
order to lower taxes.
Right. That one had a lot of negative. That was the problem I found
Oh,
with it. If you
interesting.
go through it, it's a lot of comments from individuals that were negative that were just placed throughout the thing. And I was like, that really didn't have anything to do with what that economic plan was trying to get to us. Instead of coming out with a positive answer at the end, it would have a category here and a category here. Every negative comment, it was like if we had a meeting, we wrote everything down.
And do people not want economic
It,
development?
I think they do, but I think with a plan like that, it became unfocused.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what happened.
It wasn't helpful, it sounds like.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I mean, right or wrong, that's what I think.
But I do think economics, you know, should be tied into kind of our decision making.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there, I think, is a very small chapter. That's something, you know, if that's feedback where you want that enhanced as part of this plan, we can work on it. And see what we can do to beef that up a little.
Yeah.
It may not be a full plan, but it could be more than you currently have. So what I've just passed around is just, so I just got this just the other day. The RPC sent this over. This is just, when they were doing the outreach on the future land use map, there were a bunch of comments that were received both when we had the meeting here and on the map, or people who had sent in comments. They finally compiled them and sent them over to me. For anyone who was in the room that night, it was a really good session. But there were a lot of people who had a lot of bigger thoughts than just on that map. And I had wish I had brought like some sort of postcard of like, come back when we talk about the map because we want to continue to hear from you and your good thoughts. So these, while they are comments about the future land use map and the 181, that's what the 181 means. I thought they were still helpful to share because I think they're still representative of just future Colchester. So they weren't specifically sought for Colchester's town plan, but I think they give you a little bit of flavor of what people are starting to think about or have been thinking about. So
Yeah.
that's really why I share this. Just a little bit of flavor there as people share some thoughts. It's not meant to represent the whole of Colchester's comments, but just a few things that people have said that the RPC collected and shared. So, let me get back to my memo here. Keeps going away. I don't like how Clerkbase works. Oh, we were on the timeline. Nope, not that one. So, timeline. I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel all the time. There are a few communities around us who have just wrapped up their own or are wrapping up their own town plans. Technology changes fast. People have ideas, good ideas, faster than I can keep up. Some people find creative ways to do things, so part of our next steps from the staff level, as you'll see here, are going to be to talk to some other towns and say, you know, what got people out? What got people talking? What have you done? South Burlington, Williston are some of the larger towns that have just wrapped up or are wrapping up plans. I think Williston Select Board just approved theirs, so it should be effective soon if it's not already. Or it still has to get approved by the RPC Executive Board, I think. But it's very close. Then there are some other small towns that have recently approved. So we'll reach out to them to see if there's any good things. I'm always amazed. It's, you know, hey, there's this free like mapping software where people can drop pins on parts of towns that they're, I don't know, but other people know, and hopefully they'll tell me. And we're gonna try some cool new stuff out. I think, you know, I talked a little bit about the environmental justice outreach requirements that we have. We're obviously going to keep that in mind. But we also want to make sure we're engaging other populations that typically don't turn out. It's very hard to get renters. And I think that they share a unique perspective. It's very hard to get younger people. And when I say younger, I mean sometimes it's hard to get people who are not retired. And so that, I think, can limit some of our perspective. And so we want to make sure we're doing some outreach to get people to just sort of diversify our opinions, what we're hearing from. I think it's important to hear from people maybe who own businesses in town. So just maybe doing some more targeted outreach, figuring out how to reach these people a little bit better than just the standard. We put an ad in the paper. We put it in the newsletter. You know who signs up for the newsletter? There's a certain population that signs up for the newsletter. It's not 25-year-olds.
Because of their schedules and young families and stuff. I just wonder if offering Zoom sessions, so people can be at home and.
Yeah, I mean,
Kids sleeping, they can come.
I think that's part of what I want to ask some of my colleagues, right? Like, where did you see the best attendance? Like, what did that work? You know, cheesy as it sounds, although we're getting into fall, like, does offering daycare actually work? Do people take advantage of it? The ice cream socials work? Do people come during the day when you offer it, or at night, or does tabling at town meeting, or does that actually work? I don't know. So we're going to try to figure that out so that we're using our resources in the best possible way.
You think?
About the survey. Can we all work on the survey together?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And is there any chance it could be ready by the fall, October market?
I think,
So we can be handing it out and kind of starting to promote.
yeah, Zach has already recommended that we actually have a full table at the market with a live body. So we're definitely going to have a staff member if any planning commissioner wants to join us too.
What's the date for that?
11,
October?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'll be there.
And we're going to do it at the rec center this year. Did you know that?
Cool, oh, wow.
Yes, so we're going to, our plan, actually, it might even be up there. Do you have the fall market on there?
It is up there.
Haha, table at fall market.
You might need to zoom in a little bit, though.
Yeah, sorry. Table at fall market. Those sorts of things typically work out very well because people don't have to go out of their way. They don't have to stop whatever dinner they're making or activity they've got planned. They're already out. They don't mind spending a few minutes.
And what do you plan to glean from talking to people?
I don't know. I've got about a month to figure it out.
Would you do like a
But I do,
survey kind of thing, or have to?
I do want to run it by you ahead of time.
I saw one in Milton where they did that. They had the map up, and then they had questions, basic questions. And they were, I think there was a pin thing. What did you
Yeah.
like about?
Mapping tends to work well, like anything with hands
Yeah.
works very well. But it's going to be something I'm going to be working on. It brings me to my next thought, though. When it comes to designing these things, not figuring out policy, but doing some of this work behind the scenes is a perfect example. What works very well is to have sort of subcommittees or small working groups of the Planning Commission of no more than 2 people, so that we can meet and have meetings without warning them, but not to say, this is the number of neighborhoods in Colchester, but so that we can say, hey, these are the survey questions we want to do, and that we're being informed by Planning Commission members without having to have a whole meeting of the commission. So I'd encourage you to consider that. Anybody who's, I might, if you don't always read your emails, except for ahead of a meeting, maybe pay a closer eye to it. I'm not looking at anyone in particular, just so you know. I actually don't know when you guys read. It was not a leading statement at all. But you may start seeing more frequent emails from me where I might say, hey, is one or two, if you're okay with it, is one or two are one or two of you available to help me design the survey? Are one or two of you available to help me do X, Y, or Z? Again, this is not meant in any way to do the whole work of the commission, but to help inform staff from a commission perspective of sort of, again, project work. So I think something like survey questions is the perfect example.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
if there nobody else wanted to jump on it, I would entertain it.
Just a question I have is, what is the outcome of the survey? What do you want to get from the survey? And
It's hard-
It's probably, that's a longer discussion, but that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
well, and I think that's what we'll sit down and talk about. It's hard, it's so early, it's hard to answer that. I'm not even sure what use we can have at this stage, but I hate to miss the opportunity. It's just too valuable. So it might be very high level, kind of fun. It might even just be letting people, some effort to let people know that we're starting the work more than anything else. Yeah, so it might not actually be trying to really get thoughts and feelings. It might just be an interactive way to let people know that we're going to be listening real soon. So I don't want to miss that opportunity. But I still want it to be interactive and not, here's a postcard, come back soon. So we'll figure that out. That was under the, just let me scroll over, engagement strategies, you'll see that the staff column is always busy. We'll have a lot we're doing behind the scenes. There's a lot of data work that goes in. Many of the required components of the plan are data heavy, and they change. The data changed, a lot of census data. There's a lot of population data, a lot of housing data, a lot of affordability data, a lot of energy data. All that has to get updated. All that takes time. There's a series of maps that are included, some of which are not even policy-based. They're just facts. Those all have to get updated. I do want to circle back. I feel like I'm all over the place. I apologize. But I do want to circle back real quick on sort of focus to help guide the next 12 months. We talked about the things that have to get done as part of the state requirements. I made a guess that I think you guys were shaking your head on, that there are potentially some areas of the zoning where you've said, let's talk about this at the town plan, in terms of land use. Are there other areas, and you don't have to answer this today, but feel free to shout out if you have an answer already, but this is an answer that I would share with me soon. Are there other areas that you've seen where you're like, hey, this is really outdated. I want to explore this. I really think this needs a new, fresh discussion. I've heard Sarita say something about economic development already.
I also think climate change. I mean, I'm really nervous, very, very, very concerned about it.
So you think the current plan is a little weak on that?
I just think it needs to be updated.
Okay.
We need to get current forecasts for what's coming our way, you know, some of the predictions of what we'll be facing, and just how we can, you know, be intentional about preparing for that. I mean, we already are with the flooding, you know, we already are with the resilience and flooding.
Okay, anyone else? And you can bring that back another day. You know, it's not like your only opportunity, but it will help us to sort of like target conversations with the community. If you're like, hey, so there's a map in there, for example, about, plan. So here are some of your required maps. You have a map about preferred sites for which map is it? Is it this one? That's just the constraint map.
For the wind and.
Yeah, so you might be like, boy, we just sort of, this was all new to us, we made some guesses, we've got better ideas now. If that's a map, you say, let's have a deeper discussion on this.
We had a separate map.
Yeah, so just as a quick 2-minute overview on that, towns cannot regulate net metered wind and solar. However, so they go to the Public Service Board. However, the Public Service Board does make some deference to a town plan. If your town plan says, your town plan can't say no wind and solar, we don't like it, stay out of our town. Your town plan can, however, say, hey, this is a really important ridge. This is a really important forest block, stay the heck out of it, off of it. You just have to give an alternative. So that's why you have preferred sites and non-preferred sites, and you're required to sort of talk about that. Some people do it in map form. Map form is best. This is all as an example. You might say your map, hey, we didn't really think about, what's the ridge that's near the high school that everyone talks about?
What?
The little hill near Diversity Hill? That's not the one people climb though, right? There's trails that everyone likes next to the high school.
And back to high school?
Yeah.
But the
Isn't it
Hayes
like
property?
heartbreak or something, suicide?
I didn't know how
Isn't
to
there a
name.
big, like, trail system
Park district.
behind the high school that connects
Yeah,
over?
it's the Winooski Park District back there.
Oh.
That's part of it.
There's something
Part of it's
else.
Hazelett.
Okay, ignore me then.
Diversity.
Diversity, yeah, diversity. Hills.
Off of Prim?
Road?
You think of
Yeah.
Diversity Hill?
No, it's the, where the utility tower is, like on Prim Road, if you go like.
That's what I'm thinking
Water
of.
Yeah,
Tower
yeah,
Hill.
sure.
Oh.
Then there's a
That's what
cliff
they
that you
think.
look
Water Tower
at.
Hill
Yeah.
then.
It's like,
It's called,
Not Water Tower Hill. There is a water tower.
Yeah, there's a water tower there too.
There is a name for that.
that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there is a name for that. I can't
But if
think
you're
of it.
like, hey, this would be awful if this is the place where, I'm making this up, I'm not saying that. But if you guys decide this is not a great place for X, Y, or Z, you'd want to say that. So if looking at that map is a priority, it's a good time to say that. Or for example, if you're like, boy, it's been forever since we really took a good hard look at, prioritizing where our road connections, future road connections should be. That's what we should be talking about. Or we know resources are limited. Somebody should be talking about where future rec path connections should be. There is a plan, but when was the last time it was updated?
We did bring in DRB, whoever was head of it at the time, Osborne, I guess, to have a discussion on that, and what the future of whatever was in that
Yeah.
world. We did that for the school, came in, they gave their, rec guys came in, they gave their thing to the
Yep.
little presentation, they all came in. So we had an idea of today and what their thoughts were for the future.
you're saying get somebody like, can we get somebody from like, that's in charge of all the road projects, and future road
Public
projects, and
Works.
kind of give us a.
Yeah, in Public Works,
Yeah,
yep, exactly,
yeah.
Yeah, so we're definitely planning on that.
yeah.
So you have utilities, and there is technically an official map which is different, but they're connected. Sewer system service areas. Boy, that is that's something you can bite off if you wish.
Does South Burlington have any more capacity for us?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it's interesting, I don't know where that conversation's gone, unless we turn into Milton.
Right.
I just
And I
thought
think that
they-
conversation's died.
They have capacity.
Milton?
Yeah, Wendy's
My friend.
wearing that.
As staff, I'm staying far away from it, but you guys are your own committee. But this is, again, a plan is a plan. And ultimately, you're making a recommendation to the select board. If the select board disagrees with you, then they don't have to approve it. They can kick it back and change it, but you host the conversation. Water system service areas, I don't think that is one that typically gets changed much. This is one that's just on us, archaeological and historical sites. It's not something you really solicit opinions on. They exist or they don't. Neighborhoods, you decide if you like them, don't like them, want to consolidate more. There's your future land use map. That's one we just said we'd talk about.
That one's
promise.
gonna change, huh?
I promise we'll at least change the color coding. Looks like Ronald McDonald's tie. What do we got here?
That's cool.
That's busy.
Existing land use land covers, that's a required map. And those are pre-identified categories, so it'll be interesting to see how that compares from 2019 to now. And then just your base map of roads. So again, if there's things in there, I'm going to bring you back up to your chapters. Just so you can have a good idea again. The lands, that's the bulk of what most people really usually work on in a plan. Heritage is your history, your homes. It's your housing chapter, energy chapter, demographics. There's your emergency services. Education's in there somewhere. I can't remember which chapter off the top of my head. Maybe 7. Zach spends more time in this plan than I do. There's your economy chapter, but here's your transportation chapter, and then your infrastructure, wastewater, water. So I said not a lot of homework, but there's going to be a lot of homework for your first meeting. I think, but big picture, I think it's taking a look at the overview and reading the plan, and if anything you stumble across just doesn't look right to you or doesn't represent the Colchester you know, or you think is out of date, highlight it, flag it. If you need stickies or highlighters, call me, I'll hook you up.
Do you have more of those books?
I'm gonna look.
Okay.
I'm gonna brave the dust bunnies tomorrow.
Okay.
If not, I will do my best to get you something that looks very close in color. But I'll get you something. So that's what I recommend for starting.
Okay, so I really want to be there at the first meeting, but I'm going to be out of town. Is there any way we can do it like the 3rd Tuesday in October instead of the first Tuesday?
I'm okay with moving it. I just soon have everybody here if we can make it happen.
Do you want
I
to?
want Rebecca here too.
Yeah. Do you want Rebecca here? I don't care about anyone else, you say. Especially the guys that are painting about.
She just feels very invested.
I'll be here on the 21st.
Okay.
Sometimes what you've done. So I'll pull up October. Can you see that? Oh, sorry, it's my personal computer. Ignore my email from Zach. Go away. Sorry. Clear all. October. Okay. So you're looking at the 21st?
I'm looking at the 21st. I mean, I won't have much time to read. I can read September. I'll be gone from the 5th to the 15th. And I'm not going to be doing any homework.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Hawaii.
Nice.
I remember
You
that.
should not be doing homework.
No.
I'm not going to be reading.
Yeah.
Although it is a long flight, Rebecca.
You're pretty beat up on the way back, I'll tell you that. You won't be doing anything.
Don't count on it. That's
I love you. Why?
Can I make a suggestion? So 21st as the next meeting for town plan discussions. Could we still meet the 7th for a few potential reg updates?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, I can miss those.
You can hand notes before you leave.
I did go over all of them with Rich, but I ultimately decided it'd be too much for tonight
Yeah.
to do both. both from the staff end and from a meeting perspective, so.
Is this for the next?
S49,
Okay,
Yeah, it's only like 3.
okay,
there's,
And we'll get to IRH eventually, but.
We'll get to
start with
which one?
ABC.
okay.
what'd you say?
We should just start with
Got 3
ABC,
hours
but
right
we'll
now.
get to H&I eventually.
Well, it depends how long we let it go.
Yeah.
The longer we take, the more it just, oh, we noticed this while we're, that's what happens. We're doing a project review or a permit review, and we're like,
Uh-oh.
oh my gosh, did we really mean to, oh, that language is,
We're gonna find that sweet spot between 3 and 30.
so, between 3 and 30. So that's how things end up on the list sometimes. But sometimes they're also just, I mean, Rich has been in my office enough, he sees the whiteboard. Some of them have been on there for like 3 years. So we probably just have to tackle them. You'll erase them. At this point, they're on there so much that it's real elbow grease and like chemical spray to get them off.
New year, new canvas.
Your new canvas.
Go to the basement, yeah.
Bring your drill. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
Good to me.
Yeah, we'll do the
So,
7 and the
and we'll
21.
make them both, you know, sort of not late meetings.
Yeah.
Because there's 2. Sarita, in the meantime, I'll reach out to you. I'll put a call out to anyone.
Tomorrow for an out-of-country trip, but I'll be back the 20th.
It will not be tomorrow anyway.
Anyway,
Going on
after
a
the
long trip.
20th,
You're going on a long trip.
yeah.
Oh, everybody's getting some good vacations and good for you.
So will, at some point, will we have a calendar where we know this is what we're going to be discussing, like somewhat a couple of weeks ahead, so we can really,
Yeah, we sort of have one crafted on the staff side. We hid it in the version that you saw just because we didn't want to commit to it and have somebody from the public say, you said you were talking about energy in February, and
okay. Even just for the
So-
month or something,
yeah. We're really just kicking this off very recently, so another part of this is that we're going to be working with another UVM intern. Usually we just work with them in the summer. We'll have a fall intern. This person will not be in our office as they typically are. This is more of a research class internship where we'll assign maybe some projects. So, it's another helping hand where we might say, hey, we'd like you to reach out to Williston and say, what were your successes with, just saves us some time, or we would like you to get us all the newest data on, solar use in Colchester. I'm making that up, but, so we'll have another set of hands to help us out and hopefully take off some of that work for us. We'll absolutely make sure that you meet her before the time is done. She's a senior studying policy and
Like 2 other things
yeah, a lot.
that I
She's
forget.
very active. But she has an interest in sort of policy work, so. So it'll be good.
Sounds good.
Fun will be good.
Yeah.
it's October 7th and the 21st.
I think that sort of summarizes enough to get us started. Yeah, I think that I think discussions on the land use, especially the zoning shall not change for the length of this plan statements are ones that are ripe for reevaluation. And as you know, you've had multiple people who've approached you over the years and have said, you know, I want you to consider this for this part of town, and you can consider it and discuss it and outreach on it if you want, and make final decisions and say,
Right.
this is what it's gonna be. But not parcel by parcel, it might be like, hey, what is the future of ag lands? Let's take a real hard look and say,
That's changing.
do we have enough? Do we have too much? Where should it change? Is this the right spot? You know, this was zoned ag, but it's kind of really close to a highway. Maybe we don't need it to be ag. Maybe this should have been ag. I don't know. But taking a hard look at all your ag lands and say, this needs to be readjusted. You're going to get some forest block data that you didn't have before that's now required. That might change some things for you. You might say, hey, boy, I didn't realize this is a pretty strong wildlife corridor. It's the only one that exists in Colchester. It carries any wildlife from the bay all the way up to Milton. Maybe we should protect that. What's it look like to protect that?
It goes up
To Canada. Maybe you find that it doesn't exist. I don't know. I'm making all this up.
coyotes back.
But But we're going to bring you the data, and I think you'll use that data to figure out, does that change anything? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a mapped thing, you know, as far as like a whole rezoning. It could be like an overlay. But, you know, we'll see when you get the data.
Well, it's kind of interesting, you know, just in my neighborhood, how things have changed since we had the last town plan, where we did have blocks of, you know, kind of natural areas, and it was, you know, the deer would be in there, the foxes would be in there, and now that land is developed. So we no longer have that anymore. It's kind of gotten broken up. So having an overlay, how would that stop development? I mean, do you stop development, or do they have to say, this development has to have some kind of corridor? I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, I
is
think.
it realistic, is what I'm thinking. You know, it's property, people want to develop it. What's going to stop them from
Well,
developing it?
politically, it's not always easy because you're taking away something that somebody has now. So, you know, it's tough for me to sit here on this side of the table and tell you, you know, what to do with that. However, you know, again, that's why it's a policy discussion. You know, if you've got to choose your competing goods, right? And if the good to you is that once that block is gone, or that resource is gone, it's gone, and it's never coming back, is that worth, you know, the unpopular decision? But I think that the way that, you know, one way to deal with that is not, and that's why it's an overlay, where you don't take whole properties out. You know, you talk about where that resource is rather than an entire property. So it's about impacting the resource and not taking an entire property out of. So if it's just the rear of the property that has that resource,
Well, I'm talking about, you have this natural corridor, wildlife corridor. Then right in the middle of it, someone develops the property, and that corridor no longer exists. And that's, you know, you are taking somebody's property to do, you know, potentially. That's a tough one. But
so it's not an easy conversation. You have to decide whether or not that's something you want to do. Do you want to, and you do it, you know, with informed, you know, knowing where things are, what the impacts are, not just, well, we want to leave the north part of town undeveloped, so it would just leave the whole north part. I mean, not that you can't do that, you can. I think your current zoning kind of does that. You could change, and sometimes part of the way to do it is a give and get, where you do take something, but maybe you give something in exchange. I don't know what that looks like, but, and you don't have to necessarily write the regulation for that in the plan. What you do is say that this is the goal to develop that. Develop's not a good word. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. But maybe that's not I mean, if it's not maybe that's not a priority for you. I'm not saying what should and shouldn't be, but it is something you may find yourself thinking about or hearing about. I know that your open space plan, my joke's getting old, but so is the plan. The open space plan, every year that goes by, is older and older than more of our staff members. Was written in 2000. There are a lot of people who keep asking me when it's going to get rewritten. And that sort of ties in. I wish that I'd been able to get to it ahead of this rewrite, because it would have informed this really well. I feel really bad that I haven't been able to. Because it's really out of date. I was reading something, I was looking back at some old stuff. There was a conversation that Sarah had with you when she was looking at your work plan in 2018, when you were talking about, you're having the same discussion then that we are tonight, talking about your work plan ahead of the rewrite, 2017 maybe. And she's like, oh, by the way, the open space plan is 17 years old. We should really talk about it. And I laughed so hard when I read that in the minutes, or in her memo. I was like, oh gosh, Sarah, don't look. Don't look now. I've only made it worse. So, yeah.
Can't you get a grant, have somebody do that for you?
Possibly. I have had interns chipping away at it over the last few summers, so we've made good progress. But we've hit, I mean, obviously, you can only do so much without policy feedback. So it's hit the point where it's now time to ask questions of what do you want and how do you want it. And open space is very personal. I won't quite use the word controversial, but it is very community personal. It's not an easy conversation. Gets people very passionate. People are either, we must protect it, or don't take away my rights, and it's really hard to be the board in the middle. Really hard. So
So says, well, the current open space plan, is that on the town's
I believe so.
website? Okay.
Yeah,
Just I don't even know what it looks like.
yeah. But it's really out of date. It's out of date in terms of, obviously, the resource mapping that was available. It's also out of date because I think it's a whole lot of facts, and it doesn't necessarily do a good job of asking people what the priorities are. And it didn't really create many policies. So that's what's really missing from it. If you want policies, none came from that one.
I mean, over and beyond what's in the town plan.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like actionable policies, like, you have not many regulations that talk about sort of these protections, I mean, so. Anyway,
All good? Yeah. We're good for a minute. For a minute. So 7 and 21, we get that down. What we want there. All right. Minutes of July 1st. Need a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 1st.
Second.
It's been a while since we've
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. We got our other business. We have our future meeting schedule. Need more?
we just talked about it, yeah.
That's good enough.
Jumped ahead.
Status of supplement 48.
Yeah, so real quick, Rich was with me August something, 9th, 12th. August 12th, we delivered it to the select board. It was a very lengthy meeting, but there was a lot to get through. Got through it all, select board asked a few good questions, but made no changes. So they took a vote to warn it for a public hearing. The public hearing on that is next Tuesday, September 9th. I don't anticipate any issues. Typically, the way that this works is the select board does most of its own discussion at its first reading, asks all of its questions, gives any indication of anything it wants to change. Typically, the public hearing is meant for the public. Rarely does anyone come, unless there's something very specific to something that they are interested in. I don't anticipate that anyone will specifically come because of those proposed amendments. However, it's my understanding, so this is next week, on the 9th. It's my understanding that there is a potentially large group of people attending the meeting for other reasons. I don't know if they'll speak on this because that happens sometimes. There's a public hearing on something and people feel strongly about one issue. And it's a convenient time to share them in as many places as possible. Sometimes they will, especially when you're first up. Public hearings have to be warned with a time. So our public hearing is at 6:35 at the start of the meeting. It's a very enviable position. Anyone want to come? No? Okay. I don't anticipate any big issues. It just could be a little bumpier. But I think it'll be approved that night. And we'll be on our merry way with Supplement 48 with no changes to what you crafted. That's the status there. And then it'll be in effect 21 days later, which conveniently puts it like October 1st, evenly. That's it. Monthly reports, you have the July one, or June ones, right? Which is one of my favorites because it shows you the year end. If you look at none others ever, always look at the June one. Because June is the fiscal year end. So it shows you year over year. If you don't have them too, they're always on our website. But June's always the best one to look at. That's all I got.
So I got, everybody good? Get a motion to adjourn, please.
Okay, motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Go ahead, Sarita.
I did, I seconded.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion's adjourned.